gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November the 15th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, I thought we would start today just on all the conversation about Jakari Brown. And, you know, all this chatter started back in August when we were both out at practice pretty much every day in training camp and also going back to spring practice, really. And we would watch all the drills of the quarterbacks and the receivers and things like that. And I don't think it's any secret now that Jakari was struggling a little bit throwing the football. I don't know if it was mechanical issues or what it was, but he was struggling a little bit throwing the football. And I made a comment back then like that I would love to see him take some reps at wide receiver to see what that would look like. And a lot of people took that in a lot of different ways. And I just want to clarify for our listeners here on YouTube, because it was a big topic of discussion yet again yesterday in our comments and stuff. And I just wanted to clarify exactly what we saw, what I saw, and what I was thinking at the time. Okay, so at that point in time, the receivers were a big topic of conversation. They were not doing well. There was one 45-minute drill right around that time, not 45-second drill, right around that time that I had filmed for our website. And I had to delete the video because of like the 14 passes that were thrown in that period, 13 of them were dropped. And a big topic of conversation was that the receiver position was a problem at Miami. And I'm watching Jakari at the time, who was the third team quarterback really struggling out there. You had Tyler Van Dyke, who was clearly going to be the starter. At that point in time, because he had never really played, we had no idea of the issues that Jake Garcia would have potentially when being put on the field for an extended time in games like we do now, which he's had recently. And you had Jaden Rashada coming into the program in January, who's one of the top passing quarterbacks recruits in the country. And I'm sitting there looking at this 6'5" athletic monster, okay, who clearly had great leadership skills, had great chemistry with the other players on the team, and had been a phenomenal athlete, primarily as a runner in high school, and was a total leader of his high school team and led them very far in the Georgia playoffs and on all those things. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, maybe Jakari can help as a playmaker, as you put him on the outside, throw him bubble screens, run him on jet sweeps. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. Use him as a receiver sometimes. Use him in the red zone. He's 6'5", as a big athletic target. Everything that Frank Latson has not been for this football team. So that's what's going through my head. It's not like, oh, geez, Jakari's never going to ever play quarterback in his life or anything of those lines. I did note that it wasn't looking very good at Miami because of the lineup of quarterbacks that were going to be coming in the program. And I haven't even mentioned Emory Williams yet, who is a very good passer and a very good quarterback prospect, who now looks like he will be the lone high school quarterback coming into the program in this class, assuming he sticks. And I'm thinking that this football team is challenged for playmakers. What is the point of Jakari sitting on the sideline the whole year doing nothing? Well, I do want to point out that he very quickly had a Wildcat package created for him later in training camp that they rolled out early in the season. We saw him on a jet sweep a few weeks back before he started getting more regular reps at quarterback. And then when Tyler got banged up and Jake imploded, now they've started looking at using him as a quarterback. So I just want to make clear, Matt, that there was nothing. There's no extracurricular thoughts like involved in the situation that some people want to inject. It purely was, I'm seeing how good this kid can be, and I felt he could make a contribution. And I didn't think the way things were looking that it was going to end up being a quarterback. And in no way, shape, or form did I ever envision him starting at quarterback and running the ball 18 times a game into the line. So this has all evolved way beyond what I was thinking back then. But I just wanted to clarify that for everybody, just so you guys could once again understand the thinking that was going behind that situation as it relates to what's happening at the quarterback position today. And Matt, that brings us full circle now to Clemson week preparations, and feel free to add anything you want to that, because I know you were looking at the same things I was. And we don't know right now whether Tyler Van Dyke is going to be able to play. Tyler Van Dyke wants to play. We know that. If he can play, he will be out there, because for Miami to keep this game respectable and have a chance to win, most likely, I'm not saying this is a definitive statement, they are going to need a lot more passing game than they had the last 2 weeks. And Tyler Van Dyke brings that to the table. So your thoughts, Matt, on everything I just said and the quarterback position in general?
Well, first of all, I accept your apology on behalf of Jakari Brown and his family.
That's my point. There's nothing to apologize for. I was complimenting him.
Listen, I
don't stir up more nonsense on this, okay? There is nothing to apologize. I'm looking at a kid that I felt could be a dynamic contributor this year, and there was no signs whatsoever it was going to be as a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, look, your non-apology reminds me of when I was a child. I like candy, and my father used to stash his own candy all over the house. He'd hide it. Oh boy, that's great. My father would hide his own candy all over the place, and I would go on hunts, and I would find it and eat it, and I would never apologize. But one day he got so sick of it, he took all the cookies and candy from every hiding place and stacked it on high up on the kitchen table. He made me sit down, and he told me, eat it all. And the idea was that I'd be so sick I'd never eat his candy again. However, I ate it all, and I was perfectly fine.
You're fueling the flames of these guys that want to misinterpret
because
the entire thing.
Because there's a point to this. The point is, don't hide candy from your children, and never apologize. Gary Ferman did not apologize. He's correct. Gary Ferman did not apologize. He explained himself, and
there's nothing to apologize for. I was giving an opinion that was a positive opinion about Jakari Brown.
Listen, the only mistake he made,
looked dynamic to me, but not as a quarterback.
The only mistake you made, there's nothing wrong with saying that he wasn't throwing accurate passes, that he was working on his mechanics, that he was having all sorts of problems in the spring. And even when we watched him, he was better in the fall, but even sometimes in the fall, before we got shut out of practice. The reason you hit a nerve is, telling a quarterback to go play wide receiver, doesn't always go over very well, especially if that quarterback turns out to look pretty darn good when he gets his first start. It is what it is. You weren't wrong. Matt, he didn't look like a good quarterback at that point.
He was asked to throw two passes down the field. Okay,
right. Well, but
I'm not overreacting to all of this. Okay, I understand exactly where he is in his development. I understand exactly what Josh Gaddis needed to do last week to win that game, and they both were sensational. Josh Gaddis had a great game plan, and Jakari did a great job executing it. I'm not sitting here jumping to all kind of crazy conclusions about how amazing and dynamic the Miami offense is now going to be. Because if they run that same offense that they ran at Georgia Tech at Clemson this weekend, I am not confident that the results are going to be very favorable.
Well, here's what I see, and this is my honest opinion, and people might freak out over what I'm about to say. They might call me more names than they've been calling you over the whole Jakari Brown fiasco / non-apology. What I'm about to say is this, and I believe this is true, okay? As of now, as we sit here, at whatever time it is, 5 a.m, I believe it's more likely than not that Tyler Van Dyke will not be fully healthy for this game. I hope Miami coaches, even if he's cleared, realize, hey, you know what? Let's go in a different direction, because why not? Jakari Brown, he looked good enough. He's got. They're not going to win this game with Tyler Van Dyke. They're just not. An injured Tyler Van Dyke, I'm sorry, My opinion is they're not going to win the game with him. I apologize to all the Miami fans out there. Jakari Brown, you don't know, man, because he is explosive. And if he starts, Clemson's going to be pushing everyone up on the line. He excites his teammates. If he hits a couple of plays down the field, all hell's going to break loose. And I've been starting to look at the Clemson defense a little bit. Their secondary is a lot like Miami's secondary. They've given up some plays. They haven't been that great. They're good, not great. Defensive line's similar to Miami when you look at stats, when you look at grades from Pro Football Focus, not that different. I know everyone says Clemson's defense is amazing. Their results on the field haven't been that, that amazing.
What are you doing?
I'm chewing on ginger. So anyway, here's where people are going to freak out, okay? I believe that Jakari Brown can save Josh Gaddis' job. I believe that. And I believe that can happen in this coming weekend. Because if Jakari starts this game, plays in this game, and does well, and if Miami's offense puts up, 24, 28 points, even if they wind up losing by 10 points or 14 points, if the offense looks like it's making some strides, it's going to be similar to last year against Florida State, where fans were so confused. Do we root for Miami to beat Florida State? Or do you root for Miami to lose so we get rid of Manny Diaz? I mean, that's nothing a fan ever wants to have to root for. I hope all fans are on board with Jakari having a great game, Miami keeping it close, maybe pulling off one of the biggest upsets that in Miami history, because usually Miami's favored, and go from there. But if that happens, if Jakari has a big game, if they upset somehow Clemson, play close with Clemson, have a decent offensive day, that will save Josh Gaddis' job. Mario does not want to have to give up a $4 million goodbye, Josh Gaddis, start looking for a new offensive coordinator to start over. Like, that's not ideal. If Josh Gaddis has a good game plan, Jakari does great, has another good game against Pittsburgh, Josh Gaddis will still be here next year. That's just my opinion. Don't freak out on me.
If that happens, I'm not freaking out. I would love
to
see
about the fans, not you.
Oh, no, I would love to see that happen. And maybe I'm overestimating Clemson's defense. Maybe I'm overestimating what I think is going to happen at 3:30 on Saturday up there. But if that happens, I will apologize for ever having the thought of seeing Jakari in a Reggie Bush type of role or Rocket Ishmael type of role or something along those lines. Okay. And I will say, what, silly me, I should have seen him as Vince Young. Okay. And I will be the first to do it. I will be happy to do that because it will show that he has advanced enormously in these last 3-4 months. And what we were looking at in July and August is obsolete visuals.
I mean, listen, you're the guy who usually believes the coaches, right? And not me. I never believe anybody. But the coaches have been saying he can pass the ball really well. They've been saying he's been passing the ball really well in practice. I don't know if they're making it up.
It doesn't matter. They're doing what they need to. They're like, we're going to see. We're going to find out at some point. At some point, they have to let him do something more than just safe bubble screens and things like that. Okay, if he is going to continue being the quarterback, because you can't. You don't think Clemson's going to load up at the line of scrimmage? They're probably good enough to where they don't even need to do that. But what Miami's doing didn't work against Florida State. Okay, Clemson, I think Matt will agree with me on something finally is better than Florida State. Okay. They beat Florida State, if nothing else. Okay. I think Clemson is better than Florida State. And so they probably don't even need to load up in the box and things like that. But obviously they see what's going on and they are going to want, if Jakari is in the game, they are going to want to make him show that he can do something throwing the football. Okay. And until he shows them that, and I'm talking about vertically, not horizontally, until he shows them that, they're not going to respect it. Okay. And, a couple keep them honest fly patterns and deep, those 2 deep routes we saw against Georgia Tech were good calls because you have to keep them honest. And they were good attempts to try to get something going down the field and build up the passing stats and build up Jakari's confidence and all those things. But they're going to have to, if he ends up being the quarterback in this game, they're going to have to try to give him a chance to do more. In my opinion, I don't think the Georgia Tech game plan will work against Clemson's defense. That's just my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong yet again. I don't know, but I could just give an opinion based on my, my perceptions and experience and those types of things and the past history of this season. But yes, if he can come out, Matt, and do what you described, then I will unquestionably say I was wrong, that I should have been thinking of him as Vince Young as opposed to any of those other all-purpose type of players that we've seen in college football excel very often, except for the fact that if Tyler Van Dyke doesn't get hurt, we're not even having this conversation. And if Jake Garcia doesn't mentally implode, we're not even having this conversation. So there's a lot of asterisks in this topic. But my feeling was I'm seeing a lot of misunderstanding out there in the comments that I was viewing. I just wanted to set the record straight that I in no way was diminishing anybody. I was being very complimentary in that I saw a kid that I thought could contribute to this football team this year. And it wasn't looking like he was going to contribute to this football team this year. And they had problems with the guys on the outside. And I said, I would love to see him take some reps out there. And I still would, because if he doesn't end up being the long-term solution at quarterback at Miami, and there is a huge effort to bring Tyler Van Dyke back next year, as there should be, we don't know how next year is going to go. We don't know how the competition of quarterbacks is going to go. We don't know who the quarterbacks are going to be. We don't know who might come in the portal. We know nothing about anything at this point.
Yeah, so I think people understand, you're rooting for Jakari. That's the bottom line. So
there's no doubt. I'm rooting for every player on this team.
Right. Some fans apparently.
There's not one kid on this team that you wouldn't root for. And a lot of them are going to be gone in a couple weeks.
Right. So one thing to move this along a little bit, one thing that bothered me from yesterday, you guys always know that I look for the little weird things that the coaches say on Mondays. And there was one that bothered me, man. Did you notice anything weird about the Kevin Steele interview that he said?
Let me think what you're thinking about. Go ahead. I can't think of what you might be thinking about.
It troubled me because the quote that he said was this was in relation to getting some of the younger players on the field, some guys who aren't used to really playing, because it was a blowout and they were able to give some guys reps at the end of the game, and they didn't necessarily do very well. And his quote was that they learned that, quote, "This happens a lot faster in games than it happens on the practice field." That really bothered me. That really bothered me because, Mario Cristobal knows more than anybody, and apparently Kevin Steele doesn't know this, that the practices are supposed to be harder than the games. That's always been the mantra at Miami. The practices are supposed to be faster. The practices are supposed to be against players who are better than the guy you're going to see on Thursday night or Saturday. That's what is supposed to happen. According to Kevin Steele, that's not happening. According to Kevin Steele, practice is going slower than the games. How is any player who hasn't played, expected to perform well in a game if you're running practices slower than what they're going to see in a game? I don't understand why he'd say it out loud. I hope it's not true. Can you explain it to me? Because that bothered me a lot, actually.
Yeah, I could see why that would bother you. But he's probably just being honest, Matt. I mean, right now, think about what the scout team looks like. I mean, they're just not there right now roster-wise to where they're always going to get the great looks in practice on scout team. I mean, that's just a fact. That's reality. And he was, he was probably just being honest.
I mean, I'm a little speechless about it because even if you're honest, you don't say that out loud. I'm surprised. I don't know if other reporters picked up on that or not. I haven't really been. I've been working on Clemson, Miami stuff all day yesterday, so I wasn't really looking. But it was just weird to me when I heard that. Right away it stood out. Maybe I've been covering the team too long to realize that's a weird thing to have a coach say because. I think some of the younger reporters wouldn't even think twice about it. They'd think, oh, yeah, of course it's going to be slower in practice. They have to learn it. They go at half speed to make sure they're doing it right, whatever. But that's not the reality. That's not the way you're supposed to really coach it, for younger guys. It's supposed to be full speed, even on scout team. Scout team is actually supposed to be harder because you're playing against the starters. How these scout team players or whoever they are, these massive backups that got in the game at the very end who had never played before, how they could be going against the starters and have the starters somehow play slower than the second team, third team guys that they were facing on Saturday at Georgia Tech is mind-boggling to me. Maybe Kevin Steele, maybe the only excuse he has for saying that is he was trying to make an excuse because he said it was the best defensive effort they had all year, but then they gave up a lot of yards at the end. Maybe this was his excuse for why they gave up yards. Hey, it wasn't my fault, everybody. I'm Kevin Steele. It wasn't my fault. They weren't ready for it. Not because I didn't coach them well, but because in practice, we go half speed. Practices aren't fast, so it wasn't my fault. I think that's honestly in his brain what he was thinking, which is equally bad. Okay, like I'm a huge Kevin Steele fan.
Yeah, I am too. I'm not going after
this is
Kevin
like,
Steele.
I mean, to me, this is like
maybe he's being too honest.
I don't know, but this is like you go to see Rambo, and it's a great movie, and then you keep watching all the movies that who was the main guy in Rambo? Now I forgot who it was. Sylvester Stallone. Okay, a Rocky, Rambo. You keep watching Sylvester Stallone movies, and it's just like he's up here, and then all of a sudden he gets a little lower, and you're like, don't think so much of him anymore. You don't go to the movies anymore. Like Kevin Steele. He's not Rambo, but he was close to a coaching Rambo to me. I thought the guy was great. Now he's more like, I don't know, maybe like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I guess. And he's because I was Stallone ahead of Schwarzenegger. Okay, let's working his way down. He's going to wind up maybe all the way down at. Let me see, who's a good one to use? I don't know if I should call out any bad actors. Kevin Bacon. He might wind up at Kevin Bacon.
Let's just call this the week/weekend of people saying things they shouldn't say. I don't know if you noticed, but Kamari Rogers' dad, who had some really pointed tweets over the weekend after going to Atlanta for the Georgia Tech game and not getting to see his son take a rep at defensive back. He has since deleted those tweets. And
he's not just a dad, by the way. He coaches.
I know he's a coach.
Coaches his son in high school.
But he's deleted those tweets, and he's being much more encouraging now on his Twitter. And that's a good thing to see. That hopefully he realized that was the wrong place to be doing that. If you got a problem, and I hope a lot of parents that are listening to this right now, and we're all parents. We want to see our kids do great. But if you got a problem, take it right to the coach, man. It's not like Mario or your position coach.
No. What are you talking about?
It's not like they're not going to take the call.
The parents cannot take their problems to the coach. The coaches have enough to do, Gary. Do not encourage parents of players to directly reach out to the coaches. That is not okay.
You can't put it on Twitter, Matt, and do that.
No.
That's damaging to everybody.
Let me tell you something. These are young men, just like I have two young men in college. I'm not going to complain to their professors when they get a bad grade. That's their job, man. Kamari Rogers has a problem. Kamari Rogers says, "Dad, you stay out of this. I'm handling it."
That's a legit point.
Dad, I'm going to be a starter here in 2 years, or Dad, I'm transferring. You have nothing to do with this.
So you're saying it's a father-son issue.
Dad, don't do it on Twitter. Dad, call the coaches, please. No, man. What are you talking about, bro?
Would you agree with me? He shouldn't have done it on Twitter. Let's start there.
Yeah, of course not.
Okay, so what you're saying is instead of Marcus Rogers calling Coach Adai or calling Mario to talk about Kamari's situation and why he's not playing, you're saying that he should butt out of it, know his place, stay, the supportive dad, and let Kamari fight his own battle.
Don't put words in my mouth. If the coach wants to talk to a parent, the coach will call the parent if there's an issue.
No, it's okay. But it's not okay for the parent to call the coach.
Correct.
In the match,
100% correct. 100% correct.
And in my world, I'm okay with the.
And you know what? If the sports information staff at Miami spent as much time discussing with players how to deal with the media as they did discussing with players, here's how you deal with your parents when they have a problem with your playing time, maybe these things would not have happened. All it takes is one hour session with Cam Gorby and the team to say, listen, you're not all going to have great first years. You may not play. You may think you're the greatest player in the world because you're all coming from high school. You were 5 stars and 4 stars. Coaches might not think you're ready. It's very frustrating. We understand. It's not just frustrating for you. It's frustrating for your families. So call mom tonight, call dad tonight, call grandma tonight, call grandpa tonight, call your whole family tonight, and you tell them never, ever post on Twitter, never, ever post on Facebook, never, ever call a coach. You have a problem with what's happening with me, you call me. And that's it. And they would.
Well,
but they don't ever tell them this.
But it's clearly an
They
issue.
tell them,
I don't
don't
know.
talk to the media. The media's the enemy.
So now
But they
you're
don't ever
saying-
tell them that the family can be the enemy too.
Now you're saying that the players should be the police for their parents.
Of course. Who else?
Okay.
Who else can be?
I mean, that's, I could see that working in some cases, but this is the second time now in recent weeks that we've seen this. The first
Right.
was Keyshawn
Correct.
Smith's mom.
And Nigel Kelly's mom
And
did
Keyshawn
something too,
Smith's
I
no
think.
longer on the team.
Right.
So.
And Nigel Kelly's mom, I think, tweeted something out at one point that wasn't great, maybe? Am I?
No.
That was a good thing she tweeted out? Okay.
No, she's been very
I just remember
supportive.
that was in the news.
Be careful.
That was
Don't
in the
say
headline
anything
somewhere.
erroneous, okay? Because she didn't do a thing. But this
I
was
love Nigel's mom. I just remembered her tweeting a lot of stuff. I thought one of them was like weird.
she's great.
I don't know. What
She's
do I
great.
know?
But I do think that there needs to be some form of education for parents before a season starts, whether it's a parent Zoom with Mario or whatever heck it is. But there needs to be some guidance on this, because parents running to Twitter to air grievances about their kids' playing time, what their coaches are saying to them, and things like that, it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the parent. It doesn't help the kid. It doesn't help the team and the program. And everyone's supposed to be on the same train. And I think this is something that they do need to take a look at. But anyway, we got a few other things to talk about today, and other stories that are on the website. But first, let's hear from our friends at LifeWallet.
I know what you're thinking. Why do I get to star in my own commercial? Well, I was LifeWallet's first female athlete. So let me be the first to let you in on a little secret on how I've grown my NIL. Introducing LifeWallet Sports, a revolutionary platform giving athletes complete control over their NIL opportunities, connecting athletes to brands and businesses specific to their followers' likes and interests. And if that's not enough, this platform also helps athletes make connections outside their sports. So let's get connected on LifeWallet Sports. Take it from me. It's a hole-in-one.
Man, if I could putt like that, I'd play golf more often.
Great.
I'd be out there with like Ed Barkis and all these guys on our message boards that are always talking about golf. Funny,
Who's gonna ban all the CaneSport posters if you're playing golf? You can't go out and play golf.
It's funny because it was like over a year ago that I was talking about buying a new set of clubs, and everyone was giving me advice on what clubs to buy. I have yet to have the time to go to the store and buy the clubs. I went once to look. I ran into one of our subscribers at the store while I was looking, and he said, "What are you doing? Get the hell out of here and get back to your computer. You have no business playing golf. Us CaneSport subscribers are counting on you for information and scoop and opinions, whether they like them or not. And you have no business going to the golf course. Get out of the store." It was the PGA Tour Golf Superstore in Plantation, free commercial. This is a true story, Matt. I really did run into one.
You should write a book about that. That's a great story.
No, I really did run into one of our subscribers when I walked in the store. He was there shopping for clubs as well. And it was pretty funny. But no, I still have not gotten around to getting new clubs, and I need them bad. But it has been a very busy year for us at CaneSport with our move to On3 and so forth and so on. And it's going pretty well. I mean, we're getting there. We're almost in the top 10 of websites on the On3 network. Which, considering how bad this season has gone, is not a horrible thing. Matt, thank you so much for your efforts in that regard. And
I can't tell if you're joking or not.
And for building a fan club here on YouTube.
You finally told a good joke. That was a good one, Gary. I like that one.
But no, I'm telling you, I got to get new golf clubs. But that's a topic for another day. All right, so it's going to be too cold up there in Carolina to play golf this weekend anyway, so we won't worry too much about that. But let's talk about the news of the day here that we have on the website. And we have an article on a new running back target out of North Carolina, a kid by the name of KJ Jones. He's a North Carolina State commitment. Miami's pushing hard. He updates us on where things stand. And Matt, I think that this is just the beginning, because they need to find another running back for this class. They've been recruiting Mark Fletcher. He's committed to Ohio State. He went to Florida this weekend, Matt. Miami has been pushing and pushing there. Fletcher went up to Florida this past weekend, so he clearly has some interest in the Gators. And Miami doesn't really know where it stands there, so they are expanding the pool of running backs. Your thoughts just on running back recruiting as it stands at the moment?
Well, I think Don Chaney, I think, will be back this week. It'll be good to have him back healthy. Hopefully he stays healthy. Jalen Knighton could come back. Henry Parrish will come back. I mean, he can't transfer again. They got Trevante Citizen, who should be really good if he gets fully recovered as a major injury he suffered. But they need one or two recruits at running back in this class, and they will get it. It's just a matter of how much if you went upstairs out of the dungeon there, you'll find out how much Mr. Ruiz will pay, and then we'll know. But Mark Fletcher, I think, is very much in play. I think he wants to be a Hurricane. I don't think that he's thrilled with what he's seen from the Miami offense. Maybe it'll change these next couple of games. That would certainly help. But his dad loves Miami. He loves Miami. So certainly there's something to watch there. And, Miami really wants to make a splash and get these official visitors in the weekend before signing day, because that's really when you want to do it. That's when Tracy Howard became a Hurricane. He wasn't going to be a Hurricane. He was done with the process. They talked him into visiting the weekend before he was going to sign, and he wound up here, obviously. So things do happen. Things can happen. With NIL, it's even easier to have things happen. And we just have to wait and see. Like, everyone wants to make a rush to judgment that, we can't get him. We can't get him. We're going to lose this commit, lose that commit. You might not. This is crazy now with NIL. We won't know probably until signing day, or maybe the week before when we sort of maybe get some inside knowledge on what sort of deals are being offered by different schools. And when you know the numbers, it's pretty easy to figure out if a guy's going to flip or not. If he's getting, $5 million at one school, and we know if he has a contract, waiting for him here for way less than that, then, probably not so good. But we have to wait. But anyway, with that said, this new recruit who's committed elsewhere, obviously, I call him, and I hadn't talked to him before. So obviously the first thing you do is you identify yourself. And to which he responds,
and he hangs up the phone and runs for the woods.
No, he did not. Jaleel Florence me. He responded, "Well, why are you calling me?" I'm like, I said, I just want to see if you have any interest in Miami. I heard they were recruiting you. I just wanted to check in, And he says, "Well, I really don't want to talk about it." And I said, "Oh, okay, I understand. So what do you think I did, Gary? As a seasoned veteran reporter that I am, what do you think I did? Did I hang up? What did I do? How did I get the story done? What happened?"
He talked to his father.
I said, this was, I don't know if this was a jerk move by me or not. I said, well, listen, I said, let's not even talk about your situation with, if you might consider Miami or not. Let's talk about, first of all, just your recruitment, in general. Why did you pick the school you picked? What went into it? How's your season gone? Who do you get compared to? And then, he sort of warmed up to my wonderful personality. And eventually we started talking about, sort of his situation moving forward. And, to me, it sounds like Miami, well, he told me eventually that Miami is indeed talking to him 2 or 3 times a week, between Mario Cristobal's taking a personal recruiting approach with him, which is no surprise. And obviously Kevin Smith as well. So we'll see, as of now, I would call him, I don't know. I know there's a solid commit and a soft commit. What's the word for in between? Because that's what I'd call him. What I don't want to use some weird
medium commit, moderate commit. I mean, look, NC State's not having such a great year themselves. So,
yeah,
I could see him scouting around a little bit and weighing his options. And the thing about right now is like you mentioned, I think it involves a little bit of a leap of faith. If you're a skill athlete watching Miami on offense right now, they went 9 quarters without a touchdown. Very, very vanilla game plan at Georgia Tech. You have to understand that this is not what this is going to be in the big picture and long term. And, you got to take a leap of faith, and you can't get too caught up in what's happening right now. These are extenuating circumstances between the TVD injury, what happened to Jake, having to put a freshman quarterback out there as a starter. There's a lot of layers to this whole thing. But I think it looks like he's at least willing to listen and consider and possibly visit and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a new word we can use. Maybe
Lukewarm?
I was trying to think like maybe like a Tempur-Pedic pillow, like because those are pretty firm. They're firm yet soft. They're both. They're firm and soft. I have one, so I'm going with it. He's a Tempur-Pedic pillow commit.
Only you would come up with that.
Well, have you had it? Have you ever?
You're going to compare the level of a commitment of a high school football player to a university with a Tempur-Pedic pillow.
There's a firm commit and a soft commit, and a Tempur-Pedic pillow is firm and soft at the same time, which is what he is. He literally told me that he's a solid commitment, but he's still talking to Miami, and who knows what might happen. Like, he's a Tempur-Pedic pillow, bro. That's what he is.
All right, I guess I got enough grievances with you, so I'll buy into that one.
That's what we're gonna go with from now on for somebody like that who says they're solid, but they're not.
Whatever.
Someone tells me don't tell me you're a solid commit when you're not. Like, you're gonna be a Tempur-Pedic pillow.
I've already agreed to your free agency.
Mind.
I've already agreed to free agency instead of the transfer portal.
You did not agree to that, by the way. You agreed to that as much as you agreed to apologize to Jakari, okay? You never agreed to that. You still don't seem to understand what I was talking about. So, don't make stuff up.
Come on, man. Imagine this, okay? Jakari, I want to really apologize for thinking that you're an absolutely dynamic athlete that could help the team this year, as opposed to just sitting on the scout team doing nothing all year. And I said I would love to see you take reps at wide receiver. How would that?
Let me put it in terms you'll understand, okay, Gary? I'm going to say to you, you are an amazing reporter and a great writer. And I love how you don't use big words and just really small, simple words that third graders can understand. That's like what you basically are saying about Jakari. You're saying Jakari's a great athlete. He's not such a great quarterback. No,
he wasn't in August, and we still don't know. We still don't know if he is in November because he isn't being asked to be yet.
I agree with that. But
if he's out there on Saturday at Clemson, I hope they ask him to be a major college quarterback.
I agree. I would love to see that.
And challenge him to do a little bit more so we could find out. Because
by the way, nobody's calling Jakari a great quarterback, okay?
No, but they're 19-point underdogs. There's nothing to lose here.
He could be a great quarterback. He is not yet. Okay, I know people get excited when you beat a really bad team and he looks pretty good doing it and throws 3 touchdowns and doesn't throw any passes over 20 yards, doesn't complete any passes over 20 yards. He showed signs that he can perhaps be a dynamic, electric, exciting quarterback. And if he does indeed start against Clemson, I think we'll have a much better idea of where his progress on the bigger stage stands. I hope, that he looks really, really good, but we'll see.
And Josh Gaddis, who everybody has wanted to fire all year, looked like an absolutely dynamic, brilliant offensive coordinator in Atlanta.
That was not a dynamic, brilliant game plan. It was a smart game plan.
It was a brilliant game plan.
It was a smart game plan.
Smart, brilliant.
I could have come up with that game plan, and I am not brilliant.
Okay, pull out your thesaurus, whatever. Okay, call it brilliant, call it smart, whatever you want. Josh Gaddis did his job on Saturday, okay? He did his job. He kept it simple. He kept Jakari out of mistakes.
Yes.
And the offense from doing anything that was going to impede winning that football game.
I mean, if Einstein showed up to a math conference and started writing 4 + 2 = 6 on the board, would you say he's brilliant? You'd say he's smart. You wouldn't say brilliant.
Oh my God!
It was a smart game plan.
I gotta spare everybody. I gotta move the show along here. So let's talk about Popo Aguirre. He's the Miami linebacker commit, and he came to Georgia this past weekend after being at Hard Rock for the Florida State game. He had the stomach to go to Georgia and watch his future teammates, the Canes, play against Georgia Tech, and obviously he left. And I love this kid because he made it clear in a story we had on him last week. We're coming down to take people's spots. Okay. He just laid down the gauntlet. All right. He's not playing. I am coming to play at Miami, but obviously he left Matt with a better impression at Georgia Tech than he did at Hard Rock Stadium the week before.
Yeah. I didn't put this in the story, but the funny part is, He went to the game, and Georgia Tech's recruiting him, right? They want him, but they would not let him sit in the recruiting section with their recruits. They made him buy his own ticket and sit in the stands with the Georgia Tech fans, bro. That's where they stuck him. So, I thought that was kind of funny. But he loved it. He had a great time.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really blame Georgia Tech for that. They know he's not coming to Georgia Tech. They know he's going to Miami. So why why have him, sitting there and recruiting for Miami in their recruiting section. So that kind of makes sense. Can't really blame him for that.
Yeah.
We also have a story on the website today on a wide receiver out of Maryland by the name of Elijah Moore. And he's a 2024 kid. And he's an interesting story, Matt, because he missed his freshman year due to COVID canceling the season. And then he missed his sophomore year due to a partially torn labrum. But in a short period of time as a junior this year, he's attracting attention keep in mind, nobody knew of him or about him. He's got offers now from Miami, Florida State, Penn State, USC, and others. Congratulations to Mr. Moore because he is proving himself very quickly. And he had a lot of interesting things to say. He was very humbled by the Miami offer. It was very clear that he will be considering Miami very seriously. And it's the kind of recruiting story that's just like a little touchy-feely, happy, kind of type of story that you like to read at this time of year when you're frustrated that your team's 5-5 and not competing for the conference title. So Miami's doing a really good job of recruiting Elijah Moore.
Yeah, and if he doesn't work out at wide receiver, we'll just move him to quarterback, right? What's the harm? I mean, he's a good athlete, could probably run around a little bit. Josh Gaddis's, genius offense. I'm sure they'll find a way to use him. I mean, what do you want me to say? Can I even? Am I muted? What do you want me to say? Like, you just said the whole thing about it. He's a 2024 recruit. He's interested in Miami, one of his dream schools, which means nothing nowadays. And like, whatever, bro. I'm here for the 2023 recruiting cycle, man. These 2024 recruits, I know they get Gary excited. I know they get the recruiting people excited. I know Azubi's working it hard. But I got my hands full with 2023, bro.
All right. We also have our Canes in the NFL weekly feature, taking a look at what the Pro Canes did over the weekend in the NFL. Check that out. If you missed any of our coverage of yesterday's media sessions with Mario Cristobal and the coordinator, you can be sure to check those out. Those are obviously still on the website. On a program note, we've got CaneSport Live tonight at 8 o'clock, and invite everybody to come join and be a participant in the show. Would love to have as many of you guys as possible be contributors to CaneSport Live.
By the way, who is that? WC Fields in that big mouth thing? Who is that guy? Do you know who it is?
What are you talking about?
When you put up the big mouth.
That's Matt.
Okay.
That's Matt Shodell before he came back to the future.
Oh, that's the honeymooners. Yeah. WC Fields, not a great person, but there was something funny he did when on his deathbed. I heard a story that he asked for a rabbi, a priest, and some other religious figure, and they're like, well, why do you want all these people here? He says to cover my bases. It's not a bad idea.
All right, well, that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport, aka the Matt Shodell Comedy Hour. Somebody posted yesterday that they want me to take Thursdays off in the future when we start Thursday shows again. I mean, right now we haven't been doing Thursday shows because football season. We've got other programming that we want to give you guys time to look at, like our You Bet show, the Lamar Thomas show, which has been spectacular all season. And so I've been wanting to encourage some, you guys to watch some of that other stuff. But somebody wants me to take Thursdays off and you and Azubi to do the show without me. So this might be something worth considering. We'll see.
That's a negative. How could this show even exist without Gary Ferman? I don't. It doesn't. I don't think it would work.
Azubi's too young. You can't pick on Azubi the way you pick on me.
I can't function. No. Azubi's too nice to pick on. I can't.
Too nice of a kid. Too young. Yeah,
he'd be so boring. I'd be like,
he would be permanently scarred.
I would not be able to make fun of him. I would not be able to attack any of his ideas.
I'm trying to develop.
He has good ideas.
I'm trying to develop, a young writer that I personally think is going to be an absolute superstar.
You're talking about me again? Listen,
no, I'm talking about Azubi.
Thank you, Gary. But
no, we've already developed you into a superstar.
Oh yeah. We should have Azubi on the show.
Azubi is the modern day Matt Shodell. Like Azubi, in fact, in all honesty, like Azubi very much reminds me of you when you came out of college, and I think he's going to be great in our business.
I
He's
agree.
learning. He's
I think he actually has more football knowledge. I mean, he
he's
played
got
the
a lot
game.
of football knowledge.
When he
He
watched
played.
the game, like I watched the game in the press box with him, and he notices things that I don't notice. And I've been covering this team for 20 years.
Well, he's an athlete. He played high school football.
Too. I mean, I didn't play football at a high level. I played baseball at a high
You're not
level.
an athlete. No, you go up the street and you take tennis lessons. Okay, that's not an athlete. Okay, that's like I would like to get a little exercise and keep my cholesterol down and my blood pressure in a good place and all those kind of things. That's not.
Listen,
like Azubi is an athlete.
okay? I go to this tennis lesson with my wife and I dominate her. Okay, I smash the ball right on top of her. No mercy, Gary. That's how I work.
You might want to choose a different word, okay?
It's
just a suggestion, all right?
I mean, smash is also a
probably
tennis
a
term.
better word you could have come up with.
Smash is a real tennis term.
Like somebody's going to clip that. Matt Shodell saying he dominates his wife, and they're going to put it on Twitter because.
Well, first of all, it was I smashed my wife. That was the problem. I smashed on my wife. That was really the problem.
That's better.
To dominate, that's not going to bother anybody.
Yeah.
The smash is going to get people all riled up.
All right.
We're going to edit this out, right? You will edit this out, correct? This is not going to be on the final version of CaneSport.
There's no
Good morning,
chance
CaneSport.
I'm editing that out.
What?
No, not a chance.
Then you'll be hearing from Azubi Charles because he will be doing the rest of these CaneSport Good Morning CaneSport shows from now on.
All right. We thank you guys so much for starting out your day with us. And, thank you. If you like the show, hit your subscribe button, hit your like button.
By the way, before the show ends, I would like to apologize to my wife in the same way Gary Ferman apologized to Jakari. Sorry, not sorry.
Anyway, your likes and your subscribes help us with the algorithms at YouTube and help us grow our audience. If you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please come over and join the party. Like I said, things are going really well. We had our highest traffic day in history last Friday in the 20-some-odd year history of CaneSport. That was very exciting. Thank you so much for making us your news source. Those of you that are on our website, if you're not on our website, please come over and become part of the CaneSport.com community. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll see you again next time, everybody. And CaneSport Live tonight at 8 p.m. Have a great day.